Good afternoon. Peter, I wonder if I could invoice you for the countless hours I spent with Lego. I spent the last 5 minutes trying to sum it up, but I couldn't get her number. I'd like to talk to you about something. Thanks, Ole. I'd like to talk to you about the energy game, so invite you off the digital world for a second. And if this is difficult for you, then just try how you can use this energy from here back into the digital one that you live and work in. How can we change the energy game? At the moment, we're playing a pretty dangerous one. Burning fossil fuels has led to climate change and so forth. Rising CO2 levels to more than 390 parts per million, while we should be at 350. If you're into campaigning, by the way, check out 350.org. It's a great story. So how do we get there? Back down there. Some suggest to focus back on nuclear. For one hand, it's not even CO2 neutral. On the other hand, we only have 50 years more left of fuels. But what's worse, we still haven't found a single location to store our radioactive waste. Others suggest to store the carbon in the combustion process underground, but it's the same thing. A very good German physicist put it once like a game of Russian roulette, but we're not playing it at our own heads, but at the heads of our children. Or in other words, would you want to worry about his waste? So we have to get to a carbon-neutral society and economy as soon as possible, and the only real way is by shifting to renewable energy. This will happen on 2 different tracks. One is the centralized, desert tech, offshore wind kind of thing, and the other one is the decentralized deployment of renewable energy. And the sexy part about that is that we can also democratize our energy structure. So I'd like to share our story of solar architecture, of the integration of renewable energy in the buildings as power plants of the future. We're building a house which produces more energy than its inhabitants consume. Who is we? It's a team of 40+ students from 3 different universities in Berlin. Our claim is living ecologic quality and the integration of ambience, our living together with the environment. And I'd like to invite you to take a quick peek at our construction site. Ole, after long years of planning, 2 years to be precise, the building is finally becoming a reality. Oh, there it is. It was pretty cold, as you see. This is on the river in Berlin. It took us 2 days to set up the main frame. And everybody can build a house, but we're going to take the whole thing apart again and ship it to Madrid, because we're going to take part alongside with 20 other teams from all over the world, from Brazil to China and the US to Finland, to compete in an architecture competition in June called the Solar Decathlon Europe. There you go. And the idea is, on one hand, we will have these 20 houses aligned on the river, ours down there. We want to educate the public. We expect about 100,000 visitors and teach them about solar architecture. And we want to foster innovation and compete in 10 different competition disciplines. These are the challenges. I'd like to share with you 3 of our solutions. The first, when you consider construction, energy-efficient construction, you have to look at the materials. So most of the ingredients of our house is wood. We have insulation from wood and wool, which is a sustainable source. And we try to keep our energy demand as low as possible. The second is loam. So we have a very, very comfortable climate inside the house. We've used these materials for thousands of years. But what's interesting about this, in these loam boards you have wax-type elements which have a melting point of about 25 degrees. So when it gets hot during the summer, the wax melts and can take up a lot of energy during the day. And you see these small pipes up there. At night we can pump water through that, freeze the wax again, and transport that heat outside so it can take up more heat the next day. Thus, we reduce our cooling demands. Then the solar systems, of course, we have the demand to produce more than 40 kilowatt hours plus in the competition week in Spain. We have solar electricity in the roof, and then solar thermal systems for hot water and heating in the southern facade. There's a lot to talk about in the architecture. I don't have time to share the whole thing. The only thing I would like to share with you is one design feature, which is 2 glass bands spanning through the whole house. And during the day, you will have a big sundial. It looks kind of like this, letting the sun in, and at night, the building is able to radiate back into its environment. One of the great ideas of our architects. But since we talk about campaigning and communication, oh, I forgot something, the facade. How do you prepare the wood for the weather in a sustainable and non-ecologically violent way? We're flaming the wood. It looks like this, pretty dark, but it gives a very unique outer appearance, which blends in with the solar systems. This is what hopefully it's going to look like in the end. But it's not only this. We want to share the story, and we want to take the people on board. And that's where we actually still do need help and ideas. We did this day where we had a lot of school kids here, and we talked about the energy of the future. We were in the U-Bahn window, the screens, the TV on the subway trains, and radio things. And we rode our bikes to the climate change conference in Copenhagen and so forth. And we invite people, this is before we put the facade on, to keep their fingers crossed for our competition participation in Spain. So what have we learned over the last 18 months or so? And what's next? I think the energy game has to change on 3 different spheres. The first one is the players. At the moment, we have a market that is liberalized, but still the cake is split up in 4 pieces in Germany, which hold more than 80% market share. So new players will jump in, and maybe projects like ours will play a small role in that. The second one is the strategy, and I think we have to be very consistent, very strong in that, and it should rely solely on the power from the sun directly. And the third one is the rules of the game. So if anybody here is in touch with the political sphere, I'd like to invite you to talk to them. What kind of frameworks do we need? And the renewable energy law that has been in place in Germany for the last couple of years has been copied over 40 times all over the world and is a big success story. So I think that's it for right now. I tried to keep it very short. Looking forward to you visiting us in Berlin, maybe. And keep your fingers crossed. Thank you.